Hello, my fireflies, and welcome back to TheCyanFirefly. It's me, Lyiat.
And Azilie.
And today we're here for yet another Sunday sit-down. Don't you guys love us?
I'd hope so. It'd be kind of awkward if, they just stalked us for no other decent reason.
What? Anyway.
Pretty sure that even this isn't a decent reason, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Anyway, we do have a couple of new fireflies to welcome to the fold. I don't know you all by name off the top of my head, but I know, for instance, we're being followed now by Purklehammer, the Ant, Nemesis, and I think I'm just calling him number 241, something like that. Anyway.
Yes, we all met in Jesse's live stream.
So, yes, welcome to the fold. It is nice to have you along. It was really nice chatting to you guys, but we are now up to 241 subscribers, which is more than we've ever had before, so that's pretty awesome.
Honestly, more than we were expecting, so this is actually pretty cool.
Yes, we are having very, very good times indeed. Oh, so yeah, it's been a rough road so far, but we are slowly getting there. Every inch that we get is one person closer to possibly getting TGS syndication.
Yes.
So that is our long-term goal.
So would an English education, I think.
Shut up.
I said nothing. You can't prove it. Oh, wait.
So the game in the background currently is Trine 2.
Mm-hmm.
We have decided to change games up a little bit for today because we haven't actually played a whole lot of Guild Wars 2 this week.
Yeah,
so we haven't really gotten that much viable footage. I've just been really busy. I've been talking to a couple of different indie companies trying to get footage of their games. I've also been preparing for the secret project that we've been working on.
Yeah.
And
that's been my big
that's
slowdown.
That's basically been your life focus.
Yeah, for right now. It's definitely going to be a lot of work. I'm hoping that it's going to be... I'm really hoping you guys are going to enjoy it, because I think it's going to be really cool.
I've been also talking to various people. I've been talking to Dan Bull again. I've secured us another guest to appear on the next sit-down, which I believe we mentioned last time.
Yeah, that was actually supposed to be this week's, but we ran into some issues in regards to recording. We lost power for
we lost power on Wednesday, basically right when we intended on recording with this guy, and we continued to not have power, I believe, for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So basically nothing wound up occurring from that. But
we're hoping that'll change for this upcoming week.
We will be happy to have Kit Fez on the show, the man who wears fezzes. So that sounds pretty good.
Yep. And we've been having, or at least you have been, having a lot of discussions with Ollie from Ludocraft.
Yes, Ollie is Ludocraft's PR representative, and we do plan on having a developer interview with Ludocraft pretty soon, as soon as I figure out how to do that, and as soon as their open beta, I think it's their open beta, it might be their closed beta, I'm not entirely sure, but as soon as they're...
I think at the moment it's closed beta for those who pre-ordered the game, and then...
We'll find out when we get there,
yeah.
But it will be the beta video for their game, which is Air Buccaneers. I covered that a while back, but I am, like I said, I am still in very good relations with the developers
English
over there. And we will be working on something together, so that sounds pretty cool.
It's looking to be some very cool footage in the future.
Yes. And giant tornadoes, because why not?
Even Ollie said, hey, why not?
Yes. That game does have a giant Category 5 tornado. I do hope I get some footage of that, because it's actually some really awesome work. I love the look of that thing.
The game in general is just
it's a fun game.
It looks really good. It really does. And it's steadily improving. Each time you look at the game, it keeps getting better. Mm. Honestly, I'm disappointed when it comes to Guns of Icarus.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're about 5 minutes in, so I think it's time to make our obligatory discussion about the game that we're putting in the background, which is, again, of course, Trine 2. That game is actually pretty fun. We haven't really touched it all that much since we did the Does It Live and the TLDR on it.
Right.
But we did have quite a bit of fun playing it back then, and we're going to have quite a bit of fun playing it when we actually finish this. Something that a lot of people might not notice. When we actually do record the Sunday Sit-Down, we're not playing the game in front of us. We have no idea what kind of footage we're going to be tossing in there until we actually have recorded it. Yeah. And sometimes we record the footage before we record the audio, and sometimes we record the footage after we record the audio. So,
whatever happens, happens.
In this particular instance, we actually haven't recorded Trine 2 yet. But, as far as that goes, the game, again, is very fun. I particularly like playing with the wizard because I like using the telekinesis to throw things around, form planks and form bricks. It's pretty cool. The way all the powers integrate with one another. How
use smaller words, easier for anyone to understand.
I will stab you.
Please don't. Not with the bullets. Not again!
This is what I have to deal with daily, folks. Anyway.
Hey! You said yes. Don't blame me. You said yes.
Anyway. Moving right along.
Oh, Jesus.
But that world is actually very, very interesting. I just love the character that game has.
I like the visual aspect of the game. It's not just the mechanics. The mechanics are very original, but I love the visuals, like the colors, the designs for all the characters, and the world itself is just fantastic.
Well, everything about it is really good. It has I don't really want to go with the word organic because there are a lot of inorganic things in that game, but their nature scenes are very amazing. The plants and the flora and fauna that you see going through each stage, the water effects, even the way that the wizard's creations look, the strong mechanical nature of them, and how all the gears and stuff interact, and it's a really cool game. Even the goblins have their own interesting character as they fly around and try to attack you in their own inept way. Granted, they do kill us quite frequently, so maybe it's us who are inept.
I think it's 5 of one, 6 of another.
I've never quite got that phrase.
And you never will. Don't give me that look.
I'll give you whatever look I damn well please. Anyway.
And this is what I have to deal with, folks.
I hate you so much right now. Anyway, moving right along. So, basically what I'm trying to say here is Trine 2 is a very excellent game, and people should pick it up and try it out for themselves. It does have, I believe, up to 4-player online support, so you can play with 4 people. I don't quite know how that works because there are only 3
characters. Yeah, I was kind of like, I was looking at it going, how the hell does that work?
I do know there is 4-player multiplayer support.
Well, yeah, I know. It's advertised like that on Steam, but it's like,
I don't know how it works. Yeah,
somebody plays a duplicate of somebody, apparently.
Yeah, it's a very strange system. I don't know. But beyond that, game looks really cool. You can pick it up on Steam, so feel free to try. Anyway, moving on to our topic for this week. So this week we've decided to take a close look at the transition that the gaming industry and computing in general really has taken from physical media to virtual media. Right. Now, what exactly do we mean by that? Well, way back in the day, when you went to go purchase software or purchase a video game, you would have to go get, either a
floppy disk or CD-ROM
or a ROM cert, something like that. Something physical or solid that you would have to plug into your machine, get information from, put on your hard drive. A lot of you probably remember that. Well, stuff that's been happening lately is that we've been moving far away from that. We've been moving to these virtual services like Steam, where you can go in and you can purchase I'm not even sure if you'd call it a license. You purchase the right to access a license for the game or software that you want to use. You don't technically own it, but you do have the rights from that company to download a copy of that particular software and use it as you see fit.
Right. And
or as limited
yeah.
or limited to their terms of service, because they actually can limit you in that fashion.
See, I'm not entirely sure that I really like that concept. I spent $60 on, for example, Mass Effect 3. I got the N7 digital deluxe version of the game, and it was like, that was like 60...
No, see, I'm laughing because I've spent a whole lot more on certain things.
Right, no, but I'm
Alduin
saying...
statue over there.
Shut up. But I'm saying, like, Origin is another example of, virtual media storage, virtual media access.
Desura, stuff like that.
Right. And it's like, you spend all this money on a game that you consider your property, but then you come to realize somewhere down the line that you don't really own it. It's like you're borrowing it from a video store.
You're basically
like,
purchasing the right to access it. You don't actually own that software. And it's a very eerie concept, because what some people have to realize is that for whatever reason, if Steam ended tomorrow, if that program just stopped,
if it went bankrupt
all your games,
or whatever,
like I think I have near 200 games, it would just disappear. And I wouldn't be able to do anything about that. My entire game library would be gone.
And to me, that's just... That doesn't settle well.
Yeah, it's a very
I'm not spending
thought.
all this money to borrow something. I'm spending all this money to buy it. It should be legally mine.
But before we continue on this discussion, let's discuss the whole history, at least as far as it comes to the gaming industry. So I don't know exactly what the first console was that started using physical media, rather than having just built-in media. I know we transitioned away from arcade cabinets. I don't specifically know what came first. I know it wasn't the Atari.
Oh God. I
think it started with an M.
The Megamax?
You're thinking of a Betamax, which is something else entirely.
No, I can't remember what it was, but they were the creators of the Odyssey, I think. The Odyssey that came first, and then the Atari did.
Anyway, basically, way, way, way back in the day...
in the dinosaur age!
When our grandparents were young people... you would have a console, and then you'd go to a store and you would purchase a cartridge. It looked like a
book.
Not really a book.
Are you kidding? The stuff for the Odyssey is like
I'm sure a lot of people here know what a
fat.
Game Boy is. It was basically a Game Boy cartridge, but it was a lot bigger.
Right.
And you would shove it into the top of your system, traditionally after blowing in it a couple of times. But you would shove it into the top of the system and you would turn on the game. And that was ROM-based memory. It was all based off of basically the same thing you have sitting in your computer right now. An electronic current goes through the thing, and it doesn't really have to deal with a peripheral. There's no read-write time speeds. It's all immediate, and it's very fast, and it's very efficient. The problem is ROM certs of that time did not have a lot of space on them. They weren't that really efficient. They were extremely expensive to make, at least compared to what came after, which was CDs and later on DVDs.
Right.
Disc-based optical drives were a bit more efficient than ROM, and again, it's still a physical copy. You'd still have to take the disc, you'd have to throw it into your computer, and you'd have to
load it up,
download some stuff to the hard drive, and it would still have to read certain information from the disc as it went along.
Right.
So it was better. It could hold a lot more information than solid state could at the time. Solid state has increased by leaps and bounds since then, but solid state is still more expensive than optical is.
Yeah.
And then we've moved on from there to this non-physical virtual media side, where now we just download the whole game to our hard drive and play it immediately off of our hard drive. And the only thing that limits your speed in that case is the write speed of your hard disk to your processor. And it's kind of funny because we've converted the whole opinion on solid-state drives again, so that solid-state drives are far quicker than hard drives. So we can now download a bunch of games to a solid-state drive and get pretty much instantaneous read-write speeds. So it seems like solid...
You can tell what we're really looking forward to when it comes to building our new systems.
Yes, we want SSDs.
Oh, yes!
But instead of having a SSD that you would plug into your system, it's an SSD that you already installed onto your system and you're downloading software to.
Right.
So it's slightly different than the old ROM certs of the ancient days.
Ancient days. I'm sorry, Grandpa, if you're listening to this. Really.
I guarantee he's not. You know what? Back in the 70s, that was like 20 years before I was born. It was pretty ancient to me. Anything before I was born is kind of ancient to me. I'm sorry. There are a couple of our viewers who just hung themselves because they feel old now. Then again, there are probably a couple of viewers who think we're old geezers, so...
Yeah.
It's kind of funny considering I'm only 22. Anyway, moving right on.
Again, 5 of one, 6 of another.
Stop saying that. Anyway.
Never! Anyway.
So, we're now in this whole age of virtual media, where we can access...
Well, gotta keep in mind, too, we are what's considered the digital age. We are the boomers of computer technology and...
Yes, but it's this point in time where we can upload files to wherever we want, and then we can go anywhere we want in the world and access it from any computer, which is what stuff like Steam allows us to do. It's what stuff like Dropbox allows us to do. We can upload files to a remote place and then remotely access them. And that's what this virtual media gaming thing is literally about.
Also known as cloud computing. Everybody's...
Not always.
Well, yeah.
The particular instance I'm referring to, which is Steam, Desur, and stuff like that, isn't cloud computing.
It's an aspect of it. It's cloud gaming, but it's still...
Well, no, that's still not cloud gaming. You're thinking of something slightly different.
Oh.
The difference between that is when you have cloud-based stuff, is you're accessing the file, but you're not bringing it to your system. It's more streaming it to your system.
Right.
Whereas Steam, you do download the files. You do download the files and they end up on your computer. If you were doing it cloud-based, they wouldn't actually come to your computer. It would run on the other computer and you would just stream the information back to your computer.
Right.
It's slightly confusing to people who don't fully understand the difference between streaming and actually downloading something, but that is the difference.
Right. Well, yeah, makes sense.
And there is cloud gaming services out there. They're basically rapidly dying and decaying, but they do exist.
Yeah,
But that's a separate issue.
Yeah, we managed to discover a couple of them.
OnLive,
which was introduced in 2003. We've got Gaikai, which was introduced in 2011. It was bought out by Sony in 2012. They're actually partnered with companies like Walmart, Eurogamer, and Capcom. So I'm actually not too sure if they're doing badly, but I'm pretty sure they're kind of stagnating at the moment.
I can tell you OnLive is doing horribly. It's had to lay off several of its employees, and it's
try hundreds.
And it's very close to bankruptcy at the moment.
Yeah.
To the point where the CEO has basically fled ship and made a new organization called Now, which is, again, based off of cloud gaming, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to go anywhere. The question is, why?
Well, see, the thing with Now is they're claiming to be the pioneer for what's known as hybrid streaming. Now, what's hybrid streaming? Hybrid streaming is the streaming of graphic primitives and video at the same time, while being able to achieve a better quality at a lower bandwidth. How well that will do?
I have no idea what the heck that's supposed to mean, because you're going to run into the same exact problems you have to deal with normal cloud gaming. Now, what are those problems? Well, basically, I don't know if any of you have ever watched a live stream. I know some of you have because I met some of you on Jesse's live streaming service. But as you might know, there are a lot of issues with live streaming, especially here in America, because our internet is archaic. It's based off of very old systems, very old wires and stuff like that are extremely inefficient compared to countries who have recently gotten internet, who have like ridiculous broadband connections with high fiber optic cable. We don't have that here.
No.
We have actually very, very poor systems in America comparative to other parts of the country.
And the few companies that are actually advertising these features are beyond expensive.
Yes.
So it's not possible for for civilian use. It's more used for
military
government.
or
Government or really high-end business practices and different types of company firms.
But in order to fix these problems, we would have to, the country as a whole would have to fully revisit our idea of cable, television, and internet. We would have to basically fix the entire grid, including the electricity grid. So it would cost, it's actually very prohibitively expensive at this point.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately.
I don't know how viable cloud gaming is for the future of this particular country.
Cloud computing in general.
Until technology vastly improves.
Right. Now, let's hit a couple points in regards to cloud computing, because it really does kind of have an impact in regards to the gaming aspect as well.
Well, we also have to discuss some of the pros as long as we're discussing cons.
Right. So, cloud computing is the saving of information and files in an off-site storage facility that tends to be maintained by third parties. Rather than it's on your hard drive, you store it remotely, and you access it via an internet. We all know
you don't download the files back to your computer. You're streaming the information back to your computer.
Well, that depends on the way the service is provided.
Well, as soon as you start downloading it, though, it's no longer clouding. Some cloud companies may allow you to download the information.
Like Dropbox, MediaShare, RapidShare.
Well, Dropbox is more of a P2P service. You don't stream the information back to your computer. That's the integral difference. When when you are specifically using the cloud, you're streaming the information remotely back to your computer. You are not downloading a copy of it back to your files.
Mm-hmm.
So when strictly referring to cloud computing and cloud gaming, we're explaining that it's the remote access part. You're not downloading a hard copy back to your computer.
Right.
So, in that particular instance, what it changes is the pros of it is that you do not need a high-end system to access this stuff. I could play, for instance, Crysis, full graphics, on a netbook.
Yeah.
With cloud gaming, because
and it wouldn't kill your system.
My computer's not the one that has to deal with rendering the graphics. It doesn't have to deal with all the processing of information. It doesn't have to deal with the tessellation and all that stuff. The computer and the far off region is what has to deal with that, not me. I'm just streaming the service back to my computer. It's already all pre-rendered and already all looks really nice. So that's a definite benefit.
Right, I think the only problem with that is you'd be running into maybe latency, but...
Well, that's the con, is you have to deal with latency. You have to deal with how fast your internet speed is. You have to deal with how fast you can get that information.
And that's the aspect of it that really kills cloud gaming,
especially in this country.
Right, because
really
it just
works in, say,
Sweden.
Sweden is actually very pro cloud gaming. It works very well over there because they have very efficient internet.
Right.
OnLive is actually incredibly popular over there as far as gaming goes.
Right.
Now, what else does cloud gaming
cloud
do as
computing.
A pro? Well, cloud computing as a pro. You don't have to carry a physical component.
Right.
I think we basically already mentioned this, but
there's no need for a thumb drive. There's no need for this big case of CDs to carry everywhere with you. There's no reason to carry around this bulky external hard drive.
Basically, you could walk around with an iPhone and access any file whatsoever.
Right.
As long as it was still on the cloud. And it could be a massive file. It could be several terabytes. It doesn't matter, because you're not actually downloading the file back to your iPod. You're just streaming the information back to your iPod.
Right.
Which is very significant. It can allow others to remotely access the files, so you can share them like you can in a P2P system.
Right.
Like Dropbox.
Right, or MediaFire, RapidShare,
it makes...
SoundCloud, all of these different providers offer these kinds of services. And it's just... the problem with this pro is now we get the con of
people being
piracy.
able to pirate your system,
Right.
hacking. Because the files are no longer securely on your system, it's much more easily accessible by people with malevolent connotations.
Right. Now, we know of websites like YouTube and Vimeo, which store store video files, but then we've got the negative connotations of things
those are
like...
examples of virtual media. They're not really cloud computing.
Well, right, but I'm saying that now we have things like GorillaVid and Putlocker.
Depending on your definition, cloud, you might consider YouTube cloud.
Considering that people label Facebook and MySpace as cloud-based too, I think...
I don't necessarily agree on Facebook and MySpace, but when you consider what YouTube is you download the movie files you want onto YouTube. You get them off of your system.
Well, you upload, not download.
You upload them to YouTube. You can get rid of them off your system, and at any given point in time, you can stream that video back to your system. It is basically a streaming system.
Right.
So I guess you could consider stuff like YouTube clouding.
Right. But again, like we've got YouTube, we've got Vimeo, which have like very strict rules when it comes to
certainly different than cloud gaming.
Streaming videos. Yeah. But then we've got things like GorillaVid and Putlocker. These are similar streaming websites.
Putlocker isn't cloud. It's not cloud storage. It is just virtual media. You don't stream stuff back to your system.
You can.
You can?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can go on to Putlocker and say you want to watch an episode of House. You can say, I want to watch House MD Season 2, Episode 10.
Well,
and
whatever.
It can stream it. It pulls it up onto their website.
Basically, what we wanted to say here is that stuff like Putlocker and stuff like GorillaVid are actually incredibly dangerous because they are the negative connotations when it comes to
they virtual media.
They openly permit piracy and they don't really restrict in all that manner, and they say they do.
Putlocker has actually been gone after by the MPAA, I believe.
I don't know.
The movie production,
but
whatever that one is.
Basically, what it comes down to is that Putlocker has
Putlocker bullshitted a lot.
Well, for instance, Putlocker has, and I know this for a fact, has every single episode of Law and Order SVU stored on its systems.
Right.
And they claim that they don't break American copyright violations.
Well, they claim that they're within legal...
They claim they're within the legal boundaries of the DMCA.
Yes,
and that's just flat out not true.
Right, because they have so many of these different files that are blatantly disregarding.
By the way, let me just say something really quickly. I don't care what your opinion on piracy is. What I will tell you is that it is against the law, and Azilie and I are law-abiding citizens. I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. It is an illegal activity, and we're going to denounce it. So if you don't like that, whatever. I don't particularly care about your feelings on the issue.
Right.
So, as far as it goes right now, yes, piracy is an illegal activity as determined by the U.S. government, and we're not going to actively support it. There you go. That's the TheCyanFirefly's opinion on piracy. You can go away now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to bother with doing a sit-down entirely on the topic. We might at some point, but I don't know.
We encourage stuff like Pirate Bay and, what's the other one? Demonoid, as far as people sharing their files personally.
Right.
For instance,
a new indie artist is trying, like what Dan Bull did.
Yeah, I don't object to Dan Bull freely dissimulating his music to people. If somebody does not want their stuff shared, then I do believe that you should honor their requests and not share their stuff freely. Because that's kind of being a dick to them. I mean, I understand the value of intellectual property. If I own something and I own the rights to it, I would like the right to sell it. I do not want people freely selling or giving away my stuff that I put a lot of hard work into.
Right.
Because I do feel like I've kind of earned the right to make money off of the living that I've so chosen.
Right. And
So,
again, this is an entirely different argument than
but that's
the
getting
fact
off
that
topic.
Steam, for example, is providing a service to download a game, but we technically don't own it.
Well, that's a different area entirely.
Yeah.
Where let's go back to our main topic, which is virtual media.
Right.
Anyway,
Again, we're off topic.
yeah, we tend to do that a lot on this show.
Just a little bit.
Anyway.
And we always make that reference, too.
Anyway, there are very many other examples of cloud services and remote access services, P2P services, like Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, SoundCloud, Google Docs.
Even website services like GoDaddy and HostMonster and even Webs.com act as a cloud storage device.
Or just a virtual storage device, a remote access point.
Right. Technically, even your email is a digital media storage service.
Yes, that would be remote virtual media access.
Right.
It's not... email is not considered cloud because technically you're downloading files to your computer when you access your email in the form of
attachments and stuff
attachments,
like that.
temp files, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving right along.
Now, the question of cloud computing and the use of virtual media is it beneficial to a user or detrimental to it?
Well, virtual is definitely very beneficial.
Right.
Remote access is extremely important, and our society as it is right now probably wouldn't do well if they no longer had access to these remote access programs.
Right.
It's actually become a full lifestyle.
It's
in the digital age.
Speaking from personal experience, my mother is a data administrator for a small company. She takes care of accounts for various different companies, and she crunches the numbers, but she does a fair amount of it digitally. She accesses the network for her job from home, or from if she ever has to go on a business trip, she accesses the network from out of state. And she'd never be able to do this without the use of virtual media, without the use of cloud computing.
She could, but it would be considerably harder. She would have to carry 50 thumb drives on her, which could be lost. The information could never be recovered. There'd be no backup for it, and it would be a massive pain in the arse.
Right, but the fact that these services exist make it so that she can constantly do her job no matter where she is.
Yes.
And that's made her a beneficial, a great asset to the company, because she's one of the few people that actually understands the technology and is willing to use it.
Remote access services make people incredibly efficient. They make your jobs easier. And overall, it works better than the previous systems we had in the past. So there is no problem with remote access virtual media. It's just some places, in some ways that it's been implemented, have actually kind of reduced consumer rights. Like, for instance, Steam. I like Steam. I really like Steam. I do not like the idea that I do not own the games that I purchase on Steam.
Right.
So... what can we do about it at this point? Really, there's nothing we can do.
That's the unfortunate, outside of maybe pressuring these companies to change their business practice.
I don't even know if we can do that, though.
Right.
Because
the unfortunate side of it is virtual media and cloud computing and cloud gaming, I don't want to say that they're still new, but they're still new. There's a lot of people that don't understand it. They're not willing to...
Virtual media is no longer new. It's at least, 6 to 10 years old. So it's not really new. Cloud gaming is considerably newer, at least the way it's being implemented now.
Right. Well, again, that's why I say I don't want to call it new, but technically...
Cloud gaming technically has been around since 2003, but it's only just now getting to the 4 point. Right. Whereas remote accessing of files have been around for quite a while.
Yeah. I don't know.
The funny thing is, I've been alive for the entire transition from physical to virtual, and I can't even tell you exactly when it started.
Yeah, unfortunately. Like, I really like the idea of virtual media. I like the concept of cloud computing. I think it's an important step technologically.
You just don't like where it's left the idea of consumer rights because, again, the question of ownership. Do we now own these files that we've stuck on the cloud? Do we now own the files that we've put to these remote accessing services?
How reliable is the service going to be? What happens when the service goes down? Is that data lost forever? Is there any chance of recovering
Like all the people who purchased games on OnLive, they no longer have... They will soon no longer have access to those games. Forever.
Right.
That money is now gone, and they can't even get it back because OnLive will be bankrupt.
Right. Now, keep in mind when it comes to cloud computing...
You can't sue for money that isn't there.
Right. Now, again, like I was saying, keep in mind when it comes to cloud computing, not just from a gaming aspect, but in general, there are a couple of points to be made that are problematic, but aren't in relation to the technology or the software.
Well, yes. For instance...
and I should specify the technology and software of cloud computing and virtual media.
Well, for instance, even some remote access virtual media, they don't work very well on legacy systems. Right. For instance, you can't get Steam to work on Windows 95. You can't really get OnLive to integrate well with even something as new as Windows Millennium Edition. It just doesn't work all that well. And that's nothing to do with the fault of the system. That has everything to do with the fact that it's a very old technology trying to integrate with a very new technology.
Right.
And people who refuse to adapt to these new technologies kind of get left in the dust, and they end up holding everybody else back because they complain, they get very vocal, and they demand that the new technology become compatible with their older technology.
Right, and that is the second issue. The first issue is the problem of the incompatibility of legacy systems with these new technologies, and the deliberate ignorance and unwillingness of certain people to adapt to a new technology that makes it a detriment to the advancements of this technology.
Well, we see this debate going on a lot when it comes to the console wars, and it's actually a very, very similar phenomenon. Consoles are what? Hold on. This is a bit of information. Did we record this? I don't know if we did. Hold on. I probably should have written these notes down. Xbox 360. Bear with me. So the Xbox 360, for example, is a 7th generation console. It was released on... Hold on. When were you released?
In 2005.
No, that's when it was unveiled. When did you come out? I don't know. Oh, yeah, November. Okay, so yeah, sorry, 2005. It was released on November 22nd, 2005. I have an Xbox 360 sitting right over there. It's the Xbox 360 Elite.
Yep.
Which is slightly newer than the original Xbox 360. It's a nice sleek black.
Yeah.
But it's still based on technology that is now 7 years old. It's a very old system.
Yep.
Things have progressed quite rapidly in these past 7 years, and there are still games being developed for that 7-year-old computer, whereas that 7-year-old system. Whereas the computer I have sitting right in front of me, I built last year. It has a NVIDIA GTX 580 in there. It has a very, very new processor that's a quad-core with special technology that makes it act like it's in 8-core. And it's just far more efficient at doing stuff than that Xbox is. It can produce graphics, it can produce physics, it can do so much more than that Xbox can. But games are still being made to function with that Xbox, which is holding back the entire industry. And gaming companies refuse to actually move ahead. They refuse to make new consoles. And because they are, first of all, very expensive, and it's also much easier for them to make money off of that.
Right.
So it holds back the whole industry as a whole, and it's a big pain in the butt to us PC people. Right.
Well, going back on that statement, though, it brings to mind all the bitch fest that went on when Sony's PlayStation 3, I believe it was, started making it so certain games weren't compatible. They pretty much stopped making PlayStation 2 games at this point in time. And any of those games...
because certain PlayStation 3s will not play PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 games.
Right, because they don't have that backwards compatibility, because Sony is trying to push for that moving forward.
Yes, and
what the problem is a lot of users are pitching fits over it.
But here's the thing, I can understand why they're doing that now, and that's simply because in order to make sure that they're compatible with all these old software, they have to put far more development time in making sure that they can play those old games, when in reality, they should be looking towards new things and new experiences. Right. So I can understand why they left that stuff in the dust. What it comes down to is if you really want to play those old games, keep your old systems. You can buy a PlayStation 1, you can buy a PlayStation 2, even now, for pretty cheap. You can find them.
I still have a PlayStation 2 Slim.
Yeah.
I haven't cracked it open and played anything on it because I just downright damn don't have the time.
So really, the focus on these people to hold to these legacy systems, and I very much understand that you might want to play a legacy game. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, for instance, is a really great game. I know why people would want to still have access to it. Right. But the thing is, don't hold back the current generation consoles and the next generation consoles just because you still want to play those old games.
Nostalgia is great, but don't
holding back the entire industry as a result.
Don't let nostalgia ruin a good thing.
Or
nostalgia is great.
Or even just comfortability.
Yeah, that too.
Some people are comfortable with extremely old stuff because it's what they've been using for years. But because you keep on insisting that everything be like those old systems and that old technology that you're used to, it can cause the entire industry to stagnate.
Right, yeah.
We all get really annoyed every single time one of our favorite online services updates something. And we come back to the whole, if it's not broke, don't fix it argument. Well, that's not necessarily true. If it's not broke, but it's inefficient, and there are more efficient ways to run things, then we should upgrade to those more efficient methods.
Right.
And that's the truth of the technological world. That's really how us techies think.
Right. See, the thing, and I can see it from both perspectives, because I actually am one of those people that like to think, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's kind of how I was raised. I can see it from the perspective of somebody who is irritated at the constant updates of something like Steam, and then coming to find out that whatever Steam's update did borked the entire system. And now, I'm sitting here, I want to play a game, and I'm pissed because I can't access the system because whatever they did screwed up something, and I can't access anything.
Yes, but in the long term, what people have to realize is that these constant updates improve the entire service.
Right, and to me, and this is something that still takes me a little bit of time to do, I see the mistake that's made. It's borked the system. I can't do anything about it. I get frustrated, but then I have to sit back and think, okay, alright, they're trying to push something forward. Mistakes happen. Problems come up. They're gonna fix it because that's their job. They probably already know what the problem is and they're working on it. I just have to be patient and wait things out. The problem is, today's society, patience isn't a virtue that's applied anymore.
Though the problem with Steam, and goes back to the main problem of Steam's significant DRM.
Right.
Just because Steam is borked, there should be no reason why I can't play the games that are already on my system. That still irritates the hell out of me. Yeah. I mean, I could understand me not being able to download. But I hate
having to deal with it.
I don't specifically mind if I'm not going to be able to download a game back to my system, but if there's an issue where, you know, Steam might be down for a little while, but I can't even play games that I've already downloaded, that's kind of where I get tweaked myself. Yeah. But the adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it doesn't really apply too much to IT all that often, because what we're doing is not actually fixing the thing.
It's improving.
That's exactly it. It's not broken. We just want to improve it. We want to upgrade it. Like
we can make it better, faster, stronger.
Yeah, my computer isn't broken. It could be a lot better though. So I'm not going to go fix it. I'm going to go improve it.
Right.
Which is why I'm now going to announce right here and right now, very soon in the future, I don't exactly know when, we're going to be doing a live stream, a 24-hour live stream to fundraise for the channel, because the channel is currently very much broke. And
it's surviving off of my paycheck, and my paycheck really doesn't... Yes. It's stretched very thin.
Yes, so we're currently looking for ways to raise money for the channel. So we're actually going to, from now on, I don't know exactly when we're going to incorporate it, but we're going to have a donation tab in our YouTube channel, and we're going to occasionally do live streams to fundraise for the channel.
Right.
So if you feel like donating, look for an upcoming donation PayPal link on the main YouTube channel, and look forward to future streams. Because there are definitely some things I could really use to throw in this computer, such as an SSD.
Definitely, yeah.
Because, main reason why I have a lot of trouble with getting footage is because I have to read-write to the same disk, which causes occasionally,
lag.
Well, it's not even lag, it can actually cause blue screens because of a hard disk fault.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, moving along. So we've dealt with legacy systems that don't integrate well, and the old mindset of certain people who deal with legacy systems. So that's kind of really it. I guess the final topic we wanted to talk about is laws regarding cloud gaming and remote access, because government can never keep up with the innovation of technology. Government is always behind as far as this stuff goes.
When it comes to the government and it's getting its fingers stuck in anything technologically related, we don't have far back to look, really. We've got SOPA, we've got PIPA, we've got ACTA, we've got we
do have plenty of instances of the government lagging behind current times. It's just we don't have too much information on that based on as far as technological innovation goes.
Right.
And as far as the 21st century has gone, we've had to see a lot of sudden innovation and new laws coming from the government to meet the technology of this day. It wasn't too long ago where somebody could set a remote wireless camera in your house and spy on you with impunity. That wasn't illegal. Right.
Now, I'm not going to disagree with that. There has been some cases where the government's proactive views on technology has been a boon. But there have been a lot of cases where it's actually been detrimental.
Yes. Basically, what it comes down to, if something new comes out, there's no laws regarding it because it's new. The government didn't know it existed before, so they can't regulate it. Sometimes this regulation is necessary. For instance, like I just said, when wireless cameras were first introduced, there was no laws regarding them. Somebody could remotely spy on you in your own home.
Yeah.
Because there was no law that said that they couldn't. It wasn't considered a violation of privacy.
Right. Things like wireless cameras, wiretapping.
Hacking. Hacking a couple of years back. I was alive for this. Hacking wasn't illegal. You could break into somebody's system, steal their information, and use it as you saw fit.
Yep.
But the governments had to catch up, and they're slow.
Yes, unfortunately. And what makes it worse is they're not just
slow. Is that
their
fault?
Well, that is the question, isn't it? It's not and to me, this is something that just doesn't make sense. The technology is there. The people are there that understand it. Why doesn't the government the government just doesn't seem to consult with the people that understand the technology. And even if they do, it's as if they don't take their words at face value.
I actually had an argument about this with somebody recently, and it was about SOPA and PIPA specifically. And I was complaining about SOPA and PIPA. I forget exactly where I was complaining about it, but somebody said, "Oh, so you know much better than the government, do you?" And I just immediately replied, on this particular instance, yes. And that's because the government has admitted repeatedly that they don't understand much about the internet. Almost every single speech on SOPA and PIPA from congressmen, from senators, was prefaced, and this is in their words, "I am not a computer nerd, but I do not use computers, but I don't explore the internet, but..."
Right.
That is willfully admitting their ignorance on the issue. They don't actually understand what they're talking about, but they have an opinion on it, which is kind of dangerous.
Right. It's like Fox News.
Yeah. Oh, now we're getting political on here.
Sorry, I had to poke at that little lion.
These people are deciding on laws for... Screw you too, motorcycle guy. Anyway, people are deciding and voting on laws that they don't understand the impact of. And the thing is, can we necessarily blame them? Well, maybe and maybe not. It's how our government has been set up. We can't really get these technologically informed people into government because the way that our government operates at the moment is that people need to be career government.
Right. They need to have gone to law school. They need to have gone to whatever.
They're always
university,
business majors.
right.
They're always people who either have always worked in politics or they're going from big business and moving into politics. They're never the IT experts. They're never the scientists. They're never those people because honestly...
Yeah, so there's actually a graphic going around the internet right now of somebody's actually made that statement. I forget who it was, but it was pretty much along the lines of, you ever notice how you never see scientists or philosophers or...
You sure that wasn't Neil who said that?
I don't know. All I know is I've seen this picture floating around that has, like, have you ever wondered why you don't see these types of careers in government? Only people who've gone to law school.
Yeah. Well, and it's just a simple matter of that people like us have no interest in getting involved in government because...
And honestly, I think that in itself is a danger. Well, the fact that people our age, we're 22, people our age aren't interested in the politics of things because...
No, here's the thing. We might be interested in politics, we just don't want to be a part of it. Because I've seen the slingfests that go on in these governmental agencies, and I see how they... And it's kind of sad to say, they look down on scientists. They look down on IT people. They don't respect their opinions. Why? That is a hard question to answer.
I really wish that I knew that answer, too, because...
It's very hard for somebody like us to get involved in a situation like that. And I guess another problem with it, too, is that we don't want to get involved in politics because... it's not what we love. We're passionate with the arts, IT. We're passionate with the arts. We're passionate with gaming. We're passionate with this stuff. We don't want to do something that would take us away from that, which politics would do. If I wanted, for instance, to run for Senate, which I could, I am a U.S. citizen. I mean, I'd have to be older. I think you need to be like 35 or something like that to get into the Senate.
Yeah. I think it's like 35. You need to have so many years of political experience, and see, that's another thing
I don't
that
care
makes
too
it
much
difficult.
about that. It's more specifically that I could run for that. I could do that, but it would be such an incredibly, it would be such a dedication of time that I really don't have being an IT person. And not to mention, I would have to focus so much on politics that I wouldn't be able to focus on IT stuff. I wouldn't be able to keep ahead of the new cutting edge technology. So my knowledge of that stuff would drop behind. So in that particular situation, maybe I wouldn't even be qualified to make laws on these subjects because I would no longer know what's relevant.
Right.
So, blah. There you go. That's all relevant.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think it's so frustrating.
So, it's a very broken system, and at
this
least
is a system that it's broke. It needs to be fixed.
We at the TheCyanFirefly acknowledge that there is a broken system here, and we don't know how to fix it. We don't have a suggestion. What we can tell you is that governmental politicians need to stop making fun of people who play video games. Because there is currently somebody who is running for office who got blasted on the fact that she plays World of Warcraft. Are you freaking kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
No, that actually happened. She is running for office, and she plays World of Warcraft for about 38 hours a week. Now, that might sound like a lot, until you take into consideration that the average leisure time of a person is about 40 hours. The average American spends about 40 hours watching TV, or playing golf, or pursuing a sport. Why does it change suddenly just because somebody is using that leisure time to play video games? What makes that different? When in fact, video games are actually probably more beneficial to you than these other things. Because video games constructively build cognitive ability, they build reflexes, they build the ability to think on your feet.
Right. Well, we discussed this in our last Sunday sit-down as well.
But, okay, these Senate people are now blasting this woman for playing World of Warcraft. Why? It's no different than going out to the golf course, and in fact is probably more beneficial than going out to the golf course.
Right. It ultimately comes down to
we're off topic.
It's something that they don't understand.
So far off topic now, it's not even funny.
Well, anyway, going back to the topic of why we brought up the government, this was actually posted on the 2nd of October, so this was only a couple days ago. The government is throwing their hand in when it comes to virtual media and virtual media storage. The Cloud Computing Act of 2012, Bill S.3569, which was written by Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, I'm probably butchering that last name.
Now, before you say this, I will say this. This is not a law that we have to worry about. We don't have to get all up in arms about it like SOPA and PIPA. Because this is coming at the end of a presidential term, it's probably not going to get voted on, looked on, or anything like that. It's going to be
swept under the rug.
Yeah, it's going to be swept under the rug and eventually dropped.
Yeah.
If it comes back up next year, then we need to start paying attention to it.
Right.
Now, with that prefaced, continue.
Right. So this bill claims to improve the enforcement of criminal and civil law with respect to cloud computing. The bill is an attempt at giving cloud computing services protection under the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. However, the bill's definition of cloud computing is actually so broad that it seems to cover every aspect of the internet, from your Facebook, your Twitter, all the way down to your online banking account.
Now, this bill, while coming from the right spot, is very hazardous. I do not believe that Miss Kloblocker, whatever her name is actually trying to restrict our rights. I do honestly believe that she is trying to protect us as consumers. What she is attempting to do is regulate people's ability to access these kinds of stuff and protect your rights as a consumer. She's trying to make sure that you own your stuff, and if somebody tries to steal it from you, they will get punished. But because the terms that are being used here are not well defined and they are so broad, it leaves the laws open for interpretation, which is very bad.
Yeah.
And it can cause people to take advantage of them, and it could actually reduce your rights as a result. This isn't like SOPA and PIPA, where a couple of secret communities got together and started voting in this stuff and trying to keep it out of the public eye.
Yeah.
And these groups were being subsidized by movie companies and stuff like that. No, this is all above the table. You can go and look this up yourself.
Yeah, and we will actually be providing links on an article related to it and the actual bill that you can take a quick look at. There's very little information about it available.
This isn't a surreptitious ploy trying to push some governmental agenda. This is actually somebody who is authentically trying to defend your rights. She's just going about it in the wrong way.
Right, which unfortunately that tends to happen a lot when it comes to governmental
This person
laws
does have
like
your
this.
well-being at heart. They just don't know any better because they don't quite understand cloud computing and they don't understand the terms that they are using. So it's just a matter of ignorance rather than stupidity. Let me define that for a second. Ignorance is not a bad thing.
Willful ignorance.
Yeah. Ignorance is not a bad thing. The only thing that ignorance means is that you are uneducated on a particular topic. It is not wrong to be ignorant. It is wrong to be stupid. Stupidity is willful ignorance. It's when you are ignorant due to choice rather than due to
lack of understanding
or lack of exposure.
Right.
For instance, I would consider a 20th century person ignorant to modern day medicine. It is not bad that they didn't understand how to, for instance, perform CPR. But if they were suddenly aware of CPR and that it could save somebody's life and they refuse to adopt that principle, then they're no longer ignorant, they are stupid.
Yes. Yes.
So, that's an extreme example, but there you go. This
right.
person is not stupid, they are just simply ignorant on the actual facts and the implications of what they might do. If somebody actually consulted her, if they actually went in and explained all this stuff to her, I think a better bill could be made out of this.
Right.
Something that actually worked towards protecting the rights of the consumer and prevented them from getting screwed over if these cloud companies go under or if somebody hacks them and steals your personal information.
Right. Oh, it is a very, very difficult topic.
And you told us that this would last for about 5 minutes.
Shut up.
Look at our current time rate. It is currently 1 hour and 1 minute in.
Shut up. But in any case, this cloud computing, virtual media, it is an amazing achievement of technology. It really, really is. And it's really going to only go further. Especially when we get into things like quantum computing.
Okay.
And now that
Azilie wanted to discuss this for a little bit. We do have a tiny bit of time. I don't want to go too much further because we've been talking for quite a while. But quantum computing has taken some very big recent advances. We can now actually
prove that Schrodinger's cat is alive.
Well, we can
in a sense.
The thing about quantum physics is that quantum bits
fluctuate between two phases.
They fluctuate in between 1 and 0. They fluctuate between true and positive. They can actually be in multiple places at once. They're little assholes.
Yes, because the minute you actually look at them is the minute that they decide to take a stance. They choose 1 or 0. They choose positive or negative.
We can explain this via the slit experiment.
Right.
Basically, if you shoot a quantum bit at a slit, what you understand from something, if you shoot at something that has if you do something that has a 50-50% probability, it'll either do one or the other. Quantum bits have the ability to do both things. So if you have 2 slits and you have something that will detect whether or not they go through these slits, what you would expect would happen is that you would get a positive on one and not a positive on other. If you do this on the quantum level, you might get a positive on both. You might get a positive on neither. Because quantum bits say, hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
If you start observing it, if you start actively watching it, it will literally change and it will start acting like you would expect it would. It makes no sense. It's a very confusing topic, but there you go.
Right. Now, the thing with quantum bits at the moment is they've been able to finally measure them.
Yes.
And now the problem that they've been having with the measurement of quantum bits and any sort of quantum mechanic, really, is the minute you try to take a hard measurement is the minute that
it changes.
It changes. But if you do a soft measurement... Now, don't ask me what the difference between a hard measurement and a soft measurement is. I'll provide an article where it kind of explains that.
I will explain this to our viewers. Basically, our scientists have figured out how to become magicians.
Pretty much, yeah. So they take a soft measurement which allows them to see
Because the only way
the fluctuation between 0 and 1. Now, the analogy they used for this is, like, instead of
with the Schrodinger's experiment. With for those who don't know what the Schrodinger's experiment is, there is a cat stuck in a box. And what's going to decide its fate is a quantum particle. Now, because this quantum particle can exist in 2 states at once...
The cat is both alive and dead at the same time.
Because
that's how quantum particles are. Right, and until you open the box, you won't know.
Yes. It's not even a matter of you won't know. It's literally the cat exists superimposed in 2 states. It's both alive and dead.
Right.
Which, again, confusing as hell. It doesn't make sense due to our understanding of how the world works, but that's how the quantum world works. Right.
Now, going back on what I was saying, looking at a quantum bit before was like staring at it right in front of you.
Yes, you would force it to make a decision. You would either make the cat alive or dead.
The new way that they've been able to look at it is they use the analogy of looking through fuzzy glasses. You're getting a very loose interpretation of what you're seeing, so it's not
you're going to be able to look into the box without opening it. You're still looking at the cat while it's still in that fluctuation of being both alive and dead.
Right.
Which... What?
Yeah, I know. It was downright impressive to consider this.
But basically what this innovation allows us to do is it has significantly leapt forward in our understanding of how quantum mechanics works. Now, why is this relevant? Well, our understanding of quantum mechanics will eventually make for better computers. It will allow the instantaneous transportation of information from one source to another. It will literally make internet with no latency. There will be no latency lag whatsoever. Because it does not matter how far you separate quantum bits. As soon as one thing happens to one quantum bit, it happens to the other.
Right.
It is an instantaneous change. So
it brings to mind Mass Effect with the quantum entanglement communicator.
Yes.
Like, that's an example of theoretical fantasy sci-fi technology that might just freaking come true sometime in the future, and that is downright insane.
It's not even a matter of might. If the research continues, then quantum computing is a very real thing, and it will eventually happen. How will we harness it? How will it manifest itself? We don't necessarily know.
But what are the implications of its use? That is probably one of the biggest things, too.
The implications are positive, and that's all I can really say. How it will specifically manifest, I can't tell you. All I will know is that the future systems, based on quantum mechanics, will be infinitely more efficient than what we have today. And it's something that I can't even particularly imagine. Which is crazy. I mean, 20 years ago, I was 2. Keep that in mind, I was 2. I played with a Sega Genesis. Now, Sega Genesis was a 16-bit system, and I thought that was a damned impressive machine. I played the hell out of Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, I loved that game. I compare that to stuff we have now, and I am blown away, repeatedly, every single time I make that comparison. We have innovated and we have adapted so far in my lifetime, just the 22 years I've been on this earth. What's going to happen in the next 22 years, frankly, slightly frightens me. It's a very exciting time to be alive.
It really is.
We cannot appropriately predict what's going to be happening. We can do things nowadays that I would have told you were impossible even 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
We are now capable... There is a device out there. I don't understand how this works whatsoever. But you can plug... You know how you charge a phone. You plug something into the wall, you take a wire, you plug it into your phone, and it transfers electricity. That's now obsolete technology. Why is that obsolete technology? Because they
figured out a way to wirelessly transfer electricity into your damn phone.
Yeah, you plug something into a wall, you plug something into your phone, and it somehow wirelessly transports electricity to your phone.
From across... Now, keep in mind, it's like when you say plug something into the phone, there's no wire in between these two objects. You can
There's
have
no
the
connection
phone,
whatsoever.
You can have the phone on the other side of the damn room, and it's charging. How?
Yeah.
That's insane!
I don't...
Insane!
10 years ago, I would have told you that was... 10 years ago, I don't even remember if I knew what a cell phone was. I remember using a corded phone 10 years ago.
I still had a radio phone. Are you kidding me?
I was 12. Yeah, I used a corded phone back when I was 12.
I lived in like the freaking 60s. I had a radio phone.
Back when I was 12, I think I was still using dial-up. I think broadband, not even broadband. I think DSL was a brand new thing.
Yeah. And look how far that's come.
Yeah. I know. Fiber optic cables that can...
We're like really off topic right now because we kind of go on like this rant.
It still relates to the innovation of technology and how far technology is going. And government is incapable of keeping up with all this stuff. And I understand that they are incapable of keeping up with it and regulating it.
The problem is they don't understand that. They think that they can do everything.
Well, here's the thing. That regulation is necessary. It's just the matter of they need more educated people who know what these technologies are and how they work, and they need to start consulting these people right now, or we're probably going to end up in a situation where people are regularly making regulations on crap they just know nothing about. And it's gonna hold us back.
It's already holding us back.
And we cannot afford to be held back anymore, because there are certain things that need to happen in the near future if we expect to survive as a culture. We need to look into new forms of acquiring information. We need to look into new forms of acquiring energy. And people keep on regulating laws on this kind of stuff without actually understanding the implications of it. So, this all
effectively
relates.
Cock-blocking these technologies because they don't want to lose the money.
Yeah,
I mean,
it all relates. I mean...
So frustrating.
If these laws and regulations and this backhanded dealing wasn't going on right now, we would all probably be driving hydrogen-powered cars. Your gas bill would be reduced to a couple of cents rather than, $50 every time you go to the pump.
Every time I go, like, the gas right now over where we are is like $3.89, $3.90.
Yeah.
I have a small car. I've got a 4-door...
Whereas compared to the costs of water, where it'd be like 3 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
So...
Like, filling up my car is like $50 each fill up, and I have to... I'm lucky I only have to fill up twice a week. I know
somebody is going to try to make this argument. No, we would have hydrogen cars by now. The reason why we don't is because people don't put research into it, because every single time that somebody does do research into it, the information is bought off by a big oil company who just sit on it or destroy it. If somebody was continuously doing research on...
The patents for a lot of technology has been bought out and put into a lockbox.
If somebody was continuously doing research on this topic and they were actively getting money and they were actively getting support rather than people supporting big oil companies to make money, and I understand the need to make money, I understand that impetus, but some things just can't be looked at for profit. Because it's putting us in a very dangerous spot right now, where if we only focus on profit, we're not going to be able to access these resources anymore.
Right.
But this is going into a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And we really need to close up here. So that's really all we have to discuss in this particular issue for today.
And it's a very broad issue. Definitely.
It ties into so much stuff. We could be talking for the next 3 hours. And we probably would be done.
Definitely do some of your own research. And like, one thing that I would recommend, after all of the topics that we've discussed in every Sunday sit down, do your own research. Further your education on these topics, because it's only going to help you in the long run. It really, really is.
Yes, we do ask that our viewers educate themselves and make sure that they are smarter on these particular topics, because these are relevant to the world at large, and these are relevant to your particular rights and
your interests.
And we talk about gaming quite a bit. And that's because that is our love and our passion. And these things, they might not seem to always influence us, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that relates to digital rights and digital media will impact the gaming community. So make sure to educate yourselves on these topics and make sure that you guys start building a voice, because if we don't start talking now, we will eventually lose our voice now and forever. So make sure...
It came close to that when it came to
Sopa
and Piper,
and only the loud screaming of every single gamer, every single IT person, every single big IT company out there stopped that from happening. We did a good thing then. Let's continue doing that now. Don't sit on your laurels. We are not safe yet. I don't think we ever will be. So, keep an eye out. Moving on from that heavy topic, and that was a heavy topic.
It definitely was.
Is there anything we need to discuss for this week? We kind of did all of our announcements earlier. XCOM next week. We're covering that in major fashions. I am willing to do cameos for our viewers. If you want to appear as a soldier in our XCOM video, or videos as it may be, do post down below. Post the name you want your soldier to be, the sex of the soldier, and I do say sex, not gender. I'm not getting into that argument right now. The sex of the soldier and the class of the soldier. And I will be more than happy to try to make you as a character in the game. What else? We did receive a copy for Worms Revolutions from our new fan, Greggy.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure if I want to call him a fan. Our new subscriber, Greggy, which we really appreciate. Thank you very much for that, Greggy. And we are going to try to make a video on that relatively soon. The game comes out on Wednesday.
Yep.
We will try to incorporate him into the video. If we can't, then we can't. But we will see.
Yeah.
Because he does live in Australia. He is literally 12 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
So, currently, right now, it is, holy crap, 3:50 in the morning. For him, it is 3:50 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Just to give you an implication of that. So, there we are. That is where things are at the moment.
Yeah, we're still working again on that big project that we've been making reference to.
And we are still working with devs for future future stuff. I have gotten in contact with Total Biscuit a couple of times recently. I appeared in 2 of his more recent videos, which was pretty cool. Granted, I didn't get credited, but that's not his fault.
Oy.
Oh, shush. I'm not really asking for credit. It's just a thrill to see my name in a Total Biscuit video. So, see that right there? I got to shoot down Total Biscuit. Haha. No. Yeah. But yes, I have actually gotten in contact with him. He's given us some advice for the channel, which was really cool. He's a nice guy. A lot of the people I've been talking to recently, including Key, I actually managed to get in contact with Keysuke for a few minutes, who discussed streaming with me for a few minutes. So that was pretty cool. Like I said, we're still talking to Dan. We're talking to a couple of different devs about certain stuff. So it's an exciting time to be the TheCyanFirefly.
And hopefully it can only go up.
Yes.
So.
We are not a Tower of Babel, so I do not expect things to come crashing around our ears just yet. Anyway, so, for now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Lyiat.
And Azilie.
With the TheCyanFirefly, and we are signing off once more. See you later, Fireflies.
See ya.